What's up, everyone? My name is George Coletrain. This is my man.
Marcus Donalson.
Come on.
Steven Beyer.
That's right. And we're excited because this is the first episode of something that we've been thinking, dreaming, praying about for a long time.
Yeah, man.
And we're excited to launch it. So this is the first iteration of City on a Hill, the podcast version. We're going to get into this episode, some of the the hopes and dreams of what this podcast will look like in the future. We'll get to that. But we just want to spend this first little bit introducing ourselves.
Yeah.
Just kind of our background and our history, and why we're motivated to do this podcast, to talk about this, and who we're hoping this blesses, and who we're hoping this podcast is made for, and hopefully they get to enjoy. So, we're gonna jump right in. Steve, why don't you open up, bro,
All right.
and tell us a little bit about yourself, your faith journey, and your kind of particular involvement from a vocational church ministry aspect.
Totally. So I've always been involved in the church my whole life. I'm a pastor's kid, grew up in a small Lutheran church.
Love the Lutherans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mad love for them.
Yeah, so have always been involved with various aspects of ministry, and then really got involved in the creative side. Started working for my dad's church in the mid-2000s. Was working in the office, and inevitably, most of you will know this, that if you're in a small or medium-sized church, you wear a lot of hats.
Facts.
You got to cover a lot of departments. So started, making announcement videos, helping with sermon slides. I've always loved telling stories.
That's great.
And so any way that I could do that, whether it was being on the worship team and being able to sing songs, whether it was figuring out how to make videos, anything that I could do to tell a story, that was very interesting to me. So started doing that. Not very well, but but at least coming up with something, just having fun, and that took me down a path of eventually ran into you down the line,
Which was what, 2018?
2017,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, so 2017. And we had known each other for a little bit through some mutual friends.
Yeah.
But end up joining the creative video team over at North Coast, which you were heading up. So got to dive into the video realm even further, still doing worship leading.
Yep.
And just really got to form a lot of the skills and ideas during that time. A little later on, started my own video business. Since then, we both branched off into different churches, and so have new creative endeavors. I'm at College Ave Church in San Diego, so do a lot of video there, broadcast, still doing worship. So still same thing. Nothing's changed.
Just larger.
So
More hats.
So it's one of those I can't get out of it.
Larger hats and more hats.
100%, and they're all figurative.
Yep.
So love being involved on the creative side of things, and just always had a passion for that for as long as I can remember. And so that's kind of my story.
Well, I remember when we not when we first met, but when we started working together. You had such a passion. I remember when I first brought you down, or you first coming down, and I was like, I want to bring you on the creative team. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but there was like pushback from some leadership of like your skill sets from the video side. But I was like, your passion,
Dude.
And like your desire to like you loved telling stories and creating, and I was like, bro, the skills will be so easy to teach, lighting or whatever the case might be. But like you at that point in time, our team, I feel like what we were lacking was someone who also like the phrase that comes into my mind is like the love of the game. Like you had it was like for the love of the game. Like you loved creating. It would seem like it was never a chore. Like even in your free times, you were like. I remember there was like a play you had done or something crazy. Like you were like writing full Star Wars scripts, and like everything about you was like about creating. And so like that was something I was like, that can't be taught. The skills stuff, lighting, camera, whatever, that's easy. And I like fought for you, and it was like for me it was one of the best decisions I feel like I ever made. For that team and for that season was being like, no, I see something in Steve, and you worked your butt off because you had a passion. And
Appreciate it.
You had I feel like within a year, all the issues that kind of the people had, leadership had, you would kind of work through that and became one of our like really more consistent, video operator, camera operators. But Steve. So Steve has been one of my closest friends for a long period of time, and coming up on 10 years. I mean, we met before then, but it's always fun when we're on a set or on a shoot together, and usually we're cutting up doing something ridiculous. And it's funny because I feel like from afar, everything feels like we should have the most opposite, like opposite backgrounds, opposite like you know what I mean. But like it feels like it's just like a kindred spirit, like just from a friendship perspective, and then from creating, like it feels like the stuff that we love to create is always generally in line too.
Totally. It's an interesting thing of like, it's like we're driving down the same road in a different car.
Come on with the analogies,
you know what I'm
bro.
saying, bro?
Come on with the analogy.
Because like we're always going into the same arenas. Like literally any aspect of our life, we could invite that person into. Is like that's a super big passion of mine too, and we just have a slightly different way of doing. Which makes it fun a lot of the time, and a lot of healthy banter too.
Come on. We love that.
Keeping it real.
Steve definitely keeps me humble. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and no, I'm not even gonna go there. Okay, I got one I'm saving for the back pocket.
That's great self-control on your part. That's great
This
self-control.
podcast is only going to last one episode, dude. I'm like, I'm out of here, right? So, Marcus, man, tell us a little bit about, again, same thing. Tell us about your background from faith journey and just your vocational journey to where you're at now.
Yeah, been in church my whole life. My dad was a worship leader and just always involved in the church as long as I can remember. So I've been sitting in rehearsals since I was like an infant.
Come on now.
And so I think I tell everybody I learned music and like my love for it just through osmosis because I was always around it. And man, I gave my life to Christ on Mother's Day when I was 9 years old. And pretty much ever since then, God has been slowly just drawing me into ministry. I really found a love for it in middle school at my parents' church, New Song in Oceanside. I was doing worship, like playing drums, kind of just fitting in wherever I could, and then slowly started to find a love for leading worship, which I never thought I'd be doing because I had like crazy stage fright. And so my buddy Oren like just threw me up there one day. He's like, "You're going to be fine." And I'm sweating bullets, and the rest is history because now I'm a worship pastor here in Carlsbad at Daybreak Church. And I think I've found a love for not just leading worship and being in the process of doing it each and every week in different spaces, but also like equipping people and taking in younger musicians and younger creatives who like don't exactly know what God's purposing for them, or purposing them for, and then being able to help them find that and grow in those areas. And it's been sweet. I got so many rad interns and a lot of people on my team who have just blossomed into beautiful worship leaders, crazy musicians.
Replicate yourself.
Yeah, man. And I feel like I don't even have the skills to do it sometimes. They usually come in like insanely great, and I just encourage them that they need to just keep taking it further. But so much glory to God for even giving me an opportunity to do something like that, because I never thought in a million years I'd be here. When I was in college, I was like, I'm going to go tour and like play on the road 180 days out of the week. And God was like, or out of the year. And God was like, nah, you're going to do ministry. And I fought that for a little bit, but here I am. So
you know what's funny about Marcus too? Marcus he won't ever say it, but like, bro, his reputation in our area here in San Diego, it looms so large. And like, before we had gotten close, I'd heard so much about you.
Okay, also same for you.
And
though.
like, no, but like, it was funny though, because everyone was like, man, people were like, y'all should hang out.
Yeah.
Like, y'all should enjoy y'all. But also, like, every time someone came and played here, or you played somewhere else, there was like the only way I could say it was like there was like a holy jealousy of people being like, yo, man, we need more. Where can we find more people like Marcus around? Like, it was just everyone was so envious of like either wanting to play with you or just spend more time around you.
Yeah.
And then when we did get to hang out, it was like immediate. It felt
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know like if you ever see, what's the movie? What's the movie? The twins, the Olsen twins, and they're separated. Is it Parent Trap? Is that Parent Trap?
You're talking about
No, it's not. Parent Trap.
No.
Lindsay Lohan's in
Lindsay
Parent
Lohan.
Trap. Yeah.
And but they're like separated at birth,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it felt like it was like, bro, wait a minute, why aren't we best friends?
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
When we met, it was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, we all like the same thing.
That first hang, we were like, the whole time.
Yes.
It was wild.
And bro, okay, might be shallow, but seriously, the moment I realized we were gonna be best friends, we were doing a video. You were doing a video at Rhythm, and I'm on camera. You're leading. And it's like after I was looking at the footage, and I was like, bro, what? You had in-ears in. And I was like, bro, what is in his ear? It was like this kind of orangey, like in-ear thing. I was like, yo, and I zoom in. I was like, bro, is that BB-8 on your in-ears? And I was like, oh, yeah.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah, we going, well, yeah, we got to make this happen ASAP.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, but seriously, though, like, Marcus has such a... Man, you have such a. I don't want to put this on you, but you have like almost like a bishop spirit about you. Like you raise up people so well, and whenever people again interact with you, you are like your reputation is that you fill other people's cup up when they're around you, bro. And
Thank
like,
you,
man, it's so cool because I feel like most churches, at least for a season, a lot of churches have been known for not being very, like. Linking arms, like it's kind of almost competition to a degree. But I feel like what happens here in San Diego is so different, and I feel like you are such a major component of that because you're such a you're a connector.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Like and every time I'm with you or like you're around, it's like Marcus knows them. I'm like, bro, how do you know all these people, bro?
Man.
Like he's like, but you're just like that.
Nah,
like,
bro.
You're like that, and I love hanging with you.
Yeah,
like
man.
it's so refreshing for me, and just in the little over a year that we've been getting close.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a day on the calendar for us to hang out, or I know we're gonna be in the same thing, I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward.
Bro,
when I
same.
see Marcus, I'm like, yo, stop the press. Like, yo, my boy Marcus, we gonna hang out.
Same, man.
And it's been cool for us to now, the three of us,
sure.
to get together and hang. And that first night we hung out, I was like, man, this feels almost too easy. Like, it's kind of weird how seamless that's been, and so man. So I think for me, I think what's been really cool is I've been doing ministry now vocationally, coming up on 15 years, which is really weird to think. Got started really young, kind of similar to how you ended.
Yeah.
You were just saying how you were fighting ministry. I grew up in church. My parents were very heavily involved in church. And so I'd always kind of heard like, oh, like you ministry, and I was like, nah, that's not for me. I love the church, but I just didn't really see myself in a ministry vocational space. And so God had different plans, clearly. But getting involved at North Coast, the church that we were at, was very interesting. And basically, long story short, I had my pastor, Pastor Jeff Moores, essentially put a camera in my hand and just be like, hey, I think you should like give this a try. I'd done like a photography class in high school, but I'd never done anything from a creative standpoint.
Like formal,
And I literally remember like just like falling in love with it immediately. Like the first shoot out, I was like, wait a minute, this is the greatest thing ever. I can make videos. And so like had a very interesting season, kind of fast tracked into leadership, probably a lot earlier than I really should have been in leadership. Steve can attest to that.
And it was not the easiest team to have.
I mean, we were
as a starting.
I think you were the oldest person on the team
by far
when you came down.
By far,
and you were 27, 28 at the time.
Oh man, has that much time passed now?
Yeah,
that's a great question.
You just aged him in front of everybody. That was crazy.
Wait, how old are you right now?
37. I have to think about it these days.
Okay. So
is that true?
So
I'm 36.
You were probably like 29, 30.
The joy in your voice.
I'm 36.
You were probably like 29, 30 when you came down, because I was 25. Well, yeah.
29.
Yeah. So you're 29.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were a young team. Everyone else on the team was younger than me.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
it was a
man.
young team. We had what, 7 of us, 8 of us on
Yeah.
the team
In the trenches.
It was rowdy.
and it was a wild and it was a large. I mean, we were a large church, and we were figuring things out on the fly, but that season molded me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I don't think going into that, I don't think I really had like a desire to lead something like that. I think I was just when I first started, I just loved making videos, and I was like, man, that's what I really want to do. I have really fallen in love again, similar to Steve, to just telling stories. Like I even beyond just the camera aspects, and we can get nerdy and geeky with stuff. But I just, man, when there's a story that resonates with you, like I really desire to make stories like that. And so we were in a season where we're figuring stuff out together. It's some of the most formative years of my life. Some of the, there's a lot of stories now, even now I think about, I'm like, man, we should have for sure gotten fired. Like it was a wild time, know.
I've been there.
And but it was like, it felt like for me it was like college years. It was like
totally.
that was the time of my life that really formed me, and some of the best relationships and friendships that I have come from that season. And so it taught me a lot about leadership, like leading people. Like there's the creative component, but there's a lot about leadership in that season that have molded me. And so yeah, I think now I'm a part of a church plant, Rhythm Church. We just celebrated 5 years. We're seeing God do amazing things. I get to oversee the creatives there, which is awesome, and oversee some other areas too. But there's always this kind of home base for me that is creating. I love the local church. I love, I love the Lord. I love to see what the church can do in those spaces. But yeah, I just really enjoy creating, and I want to see that expand in a kingdom aspect, not just in church, but just from a kingdom aspect.
Great.
And I think the church is an important part of that. I don't think it's every part of it, but I do think it's a very important part. And I think the church needs to step up and play its role, which I think is a big component of why we want to do this podcast. But man, I owe so much of who I am and where I am at now to the local church and to people like you and you and that whole team that we had. Like that's such a mark on my life, and I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people's story, but that's the same, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
You have these, whether it's in your high school ministry or young adult ministry or some variation of that, it's like marked on your life.
Yeah.
And whether it's from a creative aspect or not, like I think that's why the church is super important. And so, I think what's really cool, I think what you guys will get to see on this podcast is that we're real life friends.
Yes.
And so I'm really excited for this podcast because we're gonna get to talk about things that we're passionate about.
You shouldn't be as excited as you are.
Be some things out there. I'm not a big fan of my business being out there like that. But Steve, it makes a habit of exposing me.
I'm just excited in the time that I've gotten to know Marcus that I already know he's on my side.
Yes.
Yeah, y'all.
We really be coming after you, bro.
Teaming up on me, bro. I'm like, wait a minute, bro. I brought y'all together. What y'all doing turning on me? But like, we're real life friends, and so we're gonna talk about things that we're passionate about. But also, there's just gonna be moments where, it's just gonna be fun for us.
Yeah.
Being able to be kind of life giving, and so. Maybe we can all kind of jump in wherever, but talk a little bit about, I think, so again, all of us have had a pretty good amount of vocational church ministry experience. What are, from a creative aspect, worship aspect, and I think we even talk about the bridge of why that's important to include from a creative standpoint. But from what you guys have seen, what are some trends, or just what are some things that you guys have seen over the last 5-10 years? Have you guys been being around vocational ministry that maybe excite you and or concern you, that like, again, maybe have led to why we feel like this is important for us to start this now?
Yeah. I mean, the elephant in the room of like COVID changed a lot with church.
For sure.
Changed how almost everybody had to think about what we're doing. So video became like the thing at that time, and it's kind of it's obviously stuck. It's shifted since as things find whatever the new normal is. But in that, you saw an even wider disparity between bigger and little churches in terms of their ability to be able to live and function.
Right.
So I just have a heart for the fact that like I get to visit a lot of different churches. I grew up in a small church, and a lot of times it's just a challenge to keep things going. And I think this modern age has made it that much more. There's a even bigger learning curve than before. So I think it's exciting that there's this opportunity, but it's also daunting for a lot of these people. So it's a little bit of both on that front. And so I'm hoping a big part of like motivation to do this is to be able to be a resource to people. Of being like, hey, there are people who care, who are rooting for you, want you to win. I mean, that's how that you are going to feel that through and through of just we believe in the Big C Church. So we want every church to win.
Right.
And so that's just going to be the heart of this, of anything that we can do to bless whatever ministry you're
Encourage, inspire.
100%. We're hoping that we can do that. So so again, I think everything that's going on in society is pushing that there's a lot of opportunity, but now we've got to figure out how to resource, motivate, encourage the people that are in their context, because the task seems really daunting in front of them.
It's the representation. It's like when you see someone doing it, I feel like it gives hope, right? Or you see someone that has done it. I think there's a really important component of like you being inspired. Like I feel like
Totally.
Well, I think about when I like fell in love with basketball, right? It was me watching someone else play, right? Or me falling in love with whatever it is. It's like you see it play out in front of you, and so you're like, oh, yeah, I can, or I can keep going, or whatever the case is. And so like I think there's a component of that of who like we just want. Not that we have the answers and we're all like we're not like geniuses or perfect in that stuff, but it's to showcase and model that,
and wanting to hopefully bring it to whatever context you're in,
right?
Because a lot of what's funny is somebody can come away from the same thing. One person's inspired, one person is completely
like
they're discouraged completely. Like I think of conferences, how awesome conferences can be, but then at the same time you're like,
you can get polarizing responses from it.
100%. You're like,
for sure.
And so like you go to a conference, inevitably it's probably like a couple thousand person church that's putting on the conference. And so you come in and maybe you have a couple hundred, and you're trying to figure out, well, how do I take the things that they're doing? It's like, there's always nuggets that you can take, but there's no cookie cutter model. Right. And so, so hopefully there's ways that we can help navigate that. And we've got a lot of experience in different contexts with that, which I think is very helpful. I mean, I happened to go from a jump of, I went from a 50-person church to a 12,000-person church. So, and so I've seen the different extremes of the spectrum.
And then after that, you went to a context where you're taking over. Would it be fair to say a dying church or a shrinking church?
Yeah, definitely
And then,
up against it.
Yeah, and then in the last 2 years.
Yeah, seeing revitalization.
Yeah, it's been going crazy.
Sure.
It's been going crazy.
For sure.
So yeah, you've been all over the map as far as kind of the different church contexts you've seen.
Totally, and all of them have their own unique challenges. And then there's certain things that are somewhat universal.
Sure.
But yeah, I just want to encourage wherever you're at, there is hope.
Yeah,
yeah,
1,000%.
For sure.
I think kind of speaking to what you were saying earlier, like COVID exposed a lot of reactionary tendencies for the church.
Oh yeah,
I think, and especially creatively, like we'll see things happen in the world, and we're like, we should do that.
Yeah,
and I think it kind of reminded us there's points in time where we need to be ahead of the curve and not allow for situations to dictate how we respond. Like we're able to respond to them with like thought and not just like, oh shoot, we got to get it together because this is the only way we can make it happen.
Totally.
And I think from a more positive perspective, I've gotten to see a lot more pastors and churches. Like when you talked about being at a conference and going and you're like 2,000 person church is putting it on, but you're a church of like, maybe 500 and you leave, and a lot more conferences are starting to talk about what has God put on your house.
Right.
And you don't have to be like us. You don't have to execute it the way that we do. All we're doing is equipping you with the tools to go and find out what God's calling you to as a pastor, as a worship leader, as a creative, whatever it may be.
That's good.
But I think that's been super encouraging the last couple of conferences I've been to. They're like, we have done it this way for X amount of years because that's just what God asked us to do. And he's doing the same thing for you as long as you're listening. And so I think as much as we can equip you guys to hear from the Lord, and we'll give you like some tangible stuff too. I think we all have expertise in specific areas, but hearing from the Lord is like the number one thing that has fueled each and every one of us and like sent us on our way and helped us, stay on that path.
That's good.
For sure. So
That's good. I think for me, the one like kind of thing that I've noticed that has been, I think, been most troubling for me, or just has been a burden on my heart is, again, having been around for a little bit, so many of the creatives so when I first came in, the representation I would look at, there's certain channels and churches and people I'd follow and was like really inspired. And I would say I feel pretty consistently that the trend is a lot of those people or just even organizations and departments have left.
yeah.
And I think we were hitting a crisis point. I think definitely maybe accelerated, through COVID and whatnot, that season of just creatives in the church not being pastored well, not being maybe utilized well, or just again maybe they're not understanding their gift and like how it can be used for the glory of God.
Right.
And so I really want there to be a shift where people who are naturally creative or artistic don't feel like they have to leave the church
Come on,
to
bro.
use their gifts.
Come on.
I really think, and I think there's spaces for everyone, right? Like I have buddies who work in Hollywood and they work on film sets and they love Jesus. Cool. That's where God's called you to be. And then I also think there are people who are really gifted in their creative craft and they are called to do it in a vocational sense. And God there's not one or the other. I think there's some pastors who want like, you should all come work at church. It's like, no, that's not it either. But then again, like I think we have seen a lot of exodus of people who, whether it's through, again, bad, the kind of moral failures or whatever, or just been falling away bitter at the church. That's the thing too. A lot of these guys are bitter. They're not even just leaving their job. They can't. It's hard for them to even step in a church anymore without having these issues. And so that for me is huge. Like I really want to just let people know that it can be done.
Yes.
That for you can be a creative. You can be someone who like it's not a hobby for you. Like it's something you pour your everything into, and there's a space for it in the vocation in the church from a vocational standpoint.
Yeah.
And I think from a positive standpoint, something that really excites me is like we're seeing media change so much. We're seeing things shift away from kind of again like the cable TV model or whatever the case is, even from some of the streaming stuff. And we're seeing if you are good at what you do, you have a good strategic plan, there are spots for you to have impact and influence in the church, but then even out in culture.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And so I think there's like a revolution coming where I think there's a media revolution coming.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a generation that God's raising up in the church for that the church, the big C church, can be on the forefront of that, where as we take ground in YouTube and take ground in streaming and online and all that different stuff, that the church is there.
Yeah.
And that excites me. And I'm really passionate about the church not being reactionary.
Come on.
And not being left behind in a creative media sense, because it impacts people so much. I mean, we've seen, and even just a short amount of time, right? TikTok. I remember the world before TikTok, right? Which was just a few years ago. But like, man, you know how much TikTok has changed the world in the last 5 years?
Sure.
Yeah.
And like, that's the way media is, right?
Even
And
something as simple as
Yeah. Right.
new way of filming. Got to think about it different.
Right.
we were out last night, and the lady was taking a picture. And
Yeah,
he
she
said-
took it in
he said,
landscape.
No, vertical, bro. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's totally changed
Yeah.
so much about
Yeah.
our world. And from someone who, again, loves the local church, it's like, yo, we got to be there.
Yeah.
Like as a church, from media standpoint, from teaching aspect, from worship aspect, from discipling, like, well, that's a tool that we've got to leverage for the gospel standpoint,
Yeah.
and to make sure that people have heard about the good news of Jesus, which I'm passionate about that.
And I think it's also good to remind creatives that like the church can be a place where you have so much opportunity
Yes.
to hone your gift. Like, I think of it from a worship leader perspective, but in every creative aspect,
Totally.
the amount of reps I got
Yes.
just like being around and leading or playing, you get a chance 52 weeks out of the year to do the thing in front of lots of people and
a
get
great
and get
proving ground.
immediate feedback.
It's a
Like,
great proving ground.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you started talking about discipleship. I think there's been a lot of missed opportunity to disciple creatives into understanding, hey, we don't just want something from you, we
That's a
want
whole
something
series
for
in
you.
and
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So I'm excited to create a space, and I feel like it's been on all of our hearts the more we sit down and talk, just to give people that opportunity.
And I think to like a practical point, one of the things I'm really excited about for City on the Hill is one of the kind of models, or one of the things that we're hoping to kind of to roll out to you guys is not just conversations with the three of us, but to invite pastors into it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because it's not just a one-sided thing. There's a level of discipleship that is from leadership down.
Absolutely.
And so I think I think part of the equation is, I think, us talking about creatives and what we need to improve or change or do differently. But I also think we got to involve leadership, pastoral leadership, and like the areas where they've missed the mark. And so I think we have all worked really hard to have great relationships with our leadership,
Right.
And understand the dynamic. I'm on an executive team, so I'm in a lot of meetings where I'm talking about budgets and this, and I'm like, what the heck? So
You're
I
just
get to
gouging
see
your eyes
more of
out.
this stuff where I'm like, oh, okay, I understand why we're missing the mark when we're having these conversations. So I think it's important for us to model we're going to model having conversations from a creative standpoint with a pastoral leadership standpoint, and how we have both in areas missed the mark and where we can improve down the line. And so I'm really excited about the pastor conversations, because I think that was never modeled for me.
Yeah.
I remember having to walk into my lead pastor's office, before when we were at North Coast, or even come to my direct reports and being like,
How do I even do this?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, I have no
Yeah.
idea. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get more cameras. You know what I mean? Or whatever. like you know what I mean? And there's so many just opportunities that I missed out on, or we missed out on, because it just wasn't modeled, right?
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, that's probably a pain point from a creative standpoint. It's a pain point in their lives of, okay, I have these creative visions and dreams, and I want to write these songs, I want to do this, that, and the other, or I want to bring on more people to the team, and then you're hitting the head with a leadership team and going, wait, why is this not working? I don't understand. And so that's something I'm really excited about. To your point of like, I think there's a both and in some of those conversations.
Yeah,
Totally.
man.
And there's so much more that we're going to dive into
That's
in
true.
that realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I think we're excited to invite people into the COA City on the Hill world, because I think there's I'll put it to you like this. I think I follow a lot of things online, and I think there's areas where we got to be serious. We're going to talk about practical things and different things like that. But also, I'm just excited because I think there's a lot of fun that needs to be creating should be fun.
Absolutely.
It comes from a space. The best art comes usually from a space of being filled up.
Yeah.
And so I think as much as we're going to have conversations, we're going to invite other creatives, other people into these spaces, again, the pastors. But also there's going to be stuff where I think we're just going to get to be expressive and creative amongst the three of us. And so we have lots of dreams, lots of passions, lots of just ideas for what this world can be. I think, again, we're all creative at heart. You love writing music, and doing stuff like that. We love writing scripts, creating films, and seeing things come from a place of nothing to completion. So I think there's even areas where we'll get to explore that together. In certain areas, but I think really just to encourage and uplift and to inspire, specifically, I think, like church creatives. I think people who aren't in the church can still gain a lot from what we'll share. But I think a lot of what we're geared these conversations toward is those who have a love for the local church and love creating from a worship standpoint, video, even when we'll be able to talk about some designing of photography and things of that nature as well.
Yeah, so there's going to be a practicality of like skill sets that can be applied across anything. But yeah, the motivation, I think, is what sets us apart. The why.
Yeah,
So
man.
that and you're just gonna feel that from us, like that.
Yeah.
That is the biggest motivator. Is we all love Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to use the gifts that we have been given to share His message, bring Him glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, man.
since you've been, I almost did it myself. But I was just saying,
We're only dating Steve
why don't you
today.
talk about City on a Hill and
Yeah.
where that name came from? Since you were a major component of that name.
Yeah. So, man, I don't even remember how long ago this was. I kept having a dream of a church that was on a hillside overlooking the ocean. And just over and over and over, and just kept resonating with me. And obviously, there's the passage in Scripture of a city on a hill and cannot be hidden. And so, just the concept of being something that is set apart, that is
great.
a beacon of hope for the world. And so, just always resonated with that idea. And so that just birthed into this thing of like, we want to create art that is set apart, that is a light for the world, that points people to Jesus.
Yeah. That's great, bro. Just as you were saying that, I kind of got a picture, and I love that Scripture can like reveal things to you the more you read it and you listen to it. And I think of like the wording of a city on a hill. A city has so many different components and so many different expressions of itself. And I love that even sitting at this table, there's 3 different expressions of what that beacon is. And I love the heart behind wanting to be hope for other people. Because I'm sure there's people who are going to be watching this podcast who are like, I'm going to quit my job today. There's no way I'm going to make it. And I can tell you, man, one, we've probably all been there, all 3 of us.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there is light at the end of that tunnel. And yeah, man, that's such an encouragement to me, just hearing that. And I've heard it before, but even still, that picture reminded me of like the different expressions of it and how God will grow that city on a hill and how He'll cultivate the individual parts to make something so beautiful is going to be, yeah, man, it gets me excited.
I really love the city, right? It's like a community, and I think for us, what we've always talked about has been like, this is not the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Like it's a community.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm so passionate about building with other, growing our network, building with people who are influencers, but then also people who just are like, they're just trying to, like you said, trying to figure out how to stay in the game.
Yeah.
And like, I want to connect these people to these people and connect these people to those people. And I want people to, one of my favorite things about where we're at is that there is so much kind of connection amongst other people, amongst other churches. And I want that to be kind of expanded from a global standpoint. Like, I feel like you should have people in your city, in your area, and even people across the nation that you can vent to, you can call on, you can have people pray for, you can be inspired by what they're doing. If you're having an issue with something, they should be, from a church standpoint, like, we should be eager to want to help and uplift one another.
Yeah.
And so I really am excited about the city aspect of growing this as a community. Like, I know it's so like cliche to say like, well, like the comments and stuff, but no, like, I really want people to feel like you're known. And you can be known, you can be supported, you can be, inspired, but not just from like inspired, like looking, but like by being in relation to people, relationship with other people. So that for me is huge. I love, just the idea of the city. Like, it's the city that like reflects the light.
Yes.
And so it's like part of our mandate is to like help build up the city, build up the community of people that they're like-minded, and so they reflect the light that's being shown off. And so again, I think we're excited. I think we have been talking about this for a long time. Yeah. We're all married and have full-time jobs and are busy and kids and everything else, and so it's like,
and second full-time jobs
full-time jobs and freelance. But this, I want to speak for you guys, but I feel strongly saying like this has felt like a priority.
Oh man,
and this has felt like I don't know. This has felt really important to make time.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like to on our off days come in and like to do this stuff because I think for us this is what I would have killed for when I first started.
Man.
Like I would have been
For sure.
like, oh man, like where
Somebody
is something
gets
like
it.
this? Yeah,
Somebody
and
understands
so
me.
I think for us starting this for other people to be inspiration for people,
Yeah,
totally,
man.
is huge. So
Yeah, bro.
What can the people expect, Steve?
Oof. Like moving forward?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Put you on the spot, bro.
I
don't even. Do you know? I don't know.
So it fully no. But no, you can expect to be inspired. You can expect to laugh. You're gonna have fun.
Oh yeah.
To learn. And to be a part of a community. I like obviously. There's a consumption of content aspect. Like we don't know all the people that this is going to go to, but the driving force is we want to create a community. So the hope is that we take the various aspects of creativity within the church and we create a strong network that is working together, inspiring, using their gift set to again spread the gospel. That's. We want to use what we have to further what the church is doing. And so, again, that is our motivation. So you're going to see content and various aspects that's going to all support that mission.
Marcus, the people that you feel like would benefit from this most, or again, that you feel like is really in your heart, the people that you feel like you want to talk to?
Kind of what I said earlier, people who are trying to figure it out and keep themselves in the church, but also people who have left this space and are looking for a reason to come back to it. I think a lot of times when you have been hurt by the church or you've been hurt by an organization, it's hard to get back into the space because you're like, I'm just going to go through the same thing over and over again. And I think in my own experience, I've seen that there are so many places who, one, probably didn't mean to do what they did to you. They just didn't have the knowledge or the wisdom to disciple you well. But also there are so many churches who are houses of healing and not just physically, but also mentally and spiritually. And I feel like this podcast is going to be an extension of that in the church and just reminding people like, hey, there is purpose for you here, and there's also belonging for you in the church, that you can not just be utilized for your gift, you can be poured into and become a better husband or become a better wife or a better son or daughter, whatever that might look like. We care. Again, that phrase, my pastor uses it all the time. We don't just want something from you. We want something for you. And so expect that a lot.
Totally.
We want to equip you guys to get back in the church and serve your local house, and just be a part of your local house, be in a community. God intended for us to be in community with him, but also with one another. And the church is such a beautiful reflection of that. So
It's fire.
Yeah. And I would also add, because, to this point, we're speaking a lot to the creative side.
Yeah.
This is also for the leadership side.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of us do have that unique perspective of we have leadership roles. And so you are seeing the multiple sides of this. And a lot of the hurt that was created was, dude, a lot of this is new.
Yes.
And it's always shifting. And
there's
so
not like a playbook for it.
100%. So having a place where we can just have those healthy conversations and figure these things out together, because ultimately, we're trying. It's not just about us; it's the whole team.
Yeah.
So we want to be.
Nothing is like prepared, or nothing has changed my perspective more. Again, when I started, I was just I was on one side of the table.
Yeah.
And now having been an executive, having to have some of these conversations, I'm like, man, some of the stuff that I'd walk out of an office at 25, they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. And I'm like, oh,
I get
no,
that now.
I get it. No, I get it now. And so like there is a both and
Totally.
so, for sure. Yeah.
Why doesn't the pastor care what camera we use,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
LUT we're using,
Yeah.
what lights? It's like That's not his
That's
thing.
not his
Yeah,
thing,
bro.
For
and,
sure.
and
For sure.
nor should it be
Yeah.
his thing.
Yeah.
But there is a way for you guys to communicate, work together, and
Yes.
to assist each other
Yeah.
in the ultimate goal, which is
Yeah.
again sharing
Yeah.
the gospel.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good highlight. I think that's an important component of who we are. Is we want to speak to both and leadership and the creative. And so, listen, we're excited. We're really excited to be able to continue to launch episodes on a consistent basis. Again, we're gonna be having episodes where the three of us talk. We're gonna have a guest on and have reaction to some of the things that we talk about with guests. We'll have pastors on. We're gonna react to certain content that we see online and just share. So there's a lot of different things that we want to talk through and share with you guys. But we also want to hear from you guys. So we'd love for you guys to, in the comment section below, just let us know if you're watching, where you're from, what church or what ministry or what you're doing, what your role is, and maybe even like what you would want to hear from us and what topics or conversations that you guys would want to be a part of and hear. So we want to hear from you guys. We don't want to be a megaphone where we're talking one way. We want to be conversational.
Yeah.
That's a major component of who we are. So, but we're excited for Sit on the Hill. Looking forward to connect with us on our YouTube, on our Instagram. We're working on a website that we just bought the domain for it.
For sure.
And we'll put it once we confirm it's a real thing. We'll put it out there.
Absolutely.
And we're excited to connect with you guys. But lock in with
man.
us. We'll see you guys on our next episode. And for Marcus, myself, Steve, that's it.
That's it.
All right.
See
Have a
y'all
good one.
soon.
See you on the next one.